The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com. Hello, and welcome to the very first live interview from Wrestling with Johners for 2025. And we've taken a few weeks off. We've relaxed. We've enjoyed the festive period. I've eaten all the chocolates and all the mince pies, and Gavin and Stacey on rerun about 10 times. But today we're back with another live interview. And what a fantastic live interview to kick off 2025. None other, in my opinion, one of the best young pro wrestlers on the UK scene, one of the best tag team wrestlers on the UK scene. None other than Kid Lykos 2. Lykos 2, awesome to have you on the show. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and thanks for being my first guest of the new year.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
No, you're very welcome. And for those that are new to the show, or maybe new to Lykos 2, this is what the gentleman looks like in full gear, but you'll see him there on the right-hand side of the screen, and looking absolutely fantastic. Now, first of all, Happy New Year to you. Thank you for coming on to the show. But you've not performed so far in 2025. You've taken a little bit of a break. How's that break been for you so far?
Oh, it's great. I really enjoy being busy and wrestling as much as I physically can. But then having 2 to 3 weeks off before we kind of get going again is quite nice, because as much as I love being busy and wrestling all the time, it really hurts. So I quite like just a bit of recovery time. So I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Excellent. But I mean, I know you're going to be having some shows coming up soon. You're going to be performing soon, and then it gets nice and busy for you. But one thing I want to kind of bring up for our audience, and this was an announcement made last week, and something very exciting to look forward to. January the 26th, GCW live in London from the Electric Ballroom. And there you are. You're going to be involved in a tag match with Kid Lykos, of course, Lykos Jim versus the Garbage Daddies. I think they are. But GCW live in London, Lykos 2. I mean, that's an exciting opportunity for you. And I know that I think you took part in a collab show, GCW and TNT, maybe a year or two ago. But this is kind of like a proper full-blown GCW show over in the UK. That's something I'm sure you're looking very much forward to.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely the GCW debut, I guess. We did the TNT Weekender. Was it last year? Or the year before?
2023, yeah.
Shit, okay, so 2 years ago. We wrestled Los Vipers, Ares and Latigo. They're wicked. We wrestled Starboy and Jordan Oliver, and the Macizos, but it was all on the collab shows and not the actual GCW show. This is the debut, so I'm excited, man.
Yeah, and do you see it as, I'd say GCW widely regarded as one of, if not the best indie groups in the world? Certainly, number one in the US in many people's opinion. Coming over to the UK, it's going to obviously shine a massive spotlight on you, although you're wrestling in your home country, but also a fantastic opportunity for you and for Lykos Gym as a tag team to get a bit more exposure to the GCW fans and to get a bit more on the radar of GCW as a whole. Do you see it as a big opportunity to perform and to have a bit of a spotlight for a group such as GCW?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's one of those things of, I'm very happy that it's come now. It's felt like the next kind of step on kind of those companies to unlock and to debut for, I suppose. But I'm excited for this one, because then I hope that we are able to perform as we usually do, and then that kind of opens up doors for more things stateside and all over the world, because GCW are a very good name value company to work for. So I'm very excited for it, and I'm very excited for it. Should be good.
Absolutely. And I know that we're going to talk about some more of your US experiences, your US excursions, and predominantly in 2024. But for those watching us live at home on Wrestling with Johners YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are watching us live, not only thank you, but please get in touch with the show. You can send your questions, your comments for Kid Lykos 2 through to us using your chosen device. They'll ping through to us, and we've already had a few questions come through already. They'll ping through to us, and we'll do our very best to bring them up and to answer all questions live on Wrestling with Johners, the first interview of 2025. But I want to bring up this picture here and get your thoughts and your perspective on this. Lykos Gym, the USA tour, October to November. You're out there pretty much a solid month. Here are a few pictures of your time over there. We'll talk about it in a bit more detail in a second, but a hell of an opportunity. I think this is probably your first US tour, alongside your good friend, your tag team partner, Kid Lykos, of course. Some great experiences out there, some great moments, some great opportunities. But it was also a grind as well, because now let me just bring up my notes here, because I think it was 8 different promotions, 7 states, all within that kind of month-long period. It sounds like you guys had an absolute blast out there.
It was genuinely the time of my life. Like, just not only to be, as a person, a 22-year-old that gets to go to America and make money. That's sick. Like, that's unbelievable. But then just to, as you said, like, go to the US for a full month and be busy, when I've been once with Progress on Mania Week, but like, to just be able to go on my own and not with like a full company backing me, it was unreal. Like, I can't stress how just cool and fun, and how much I learned from people that I was around and stuff. Like, it was genuinely the best time of my life.
Yeah. Did it take a lot of planning and organizing? Because like I said, I think there was 8 different promotions or thereabouts, 7 different states, which is a lot of flying, a lot of air miles, a lot of time spent up in the air and kind of hotel to hotel. But you was out there pretty much a solid month. Did it take a lot of planning and organizing to put it all together?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, the beauty of a team is that there's 2 of you, so you kind of get to even out the workload, I guess. But
Good point.
as far as like step by step, it was literally just book a flight, send some emails, get some dates, get on a flight, go to some places. Like, that was genuinely it. Like, to dumb it down, I guess. But yeah, it's a stressful one, because it's such a risk of like, let's go to the other side of the world for a month with, not, or for me at least, like, not much stock in America. Like, again, I've been once for Menu Week with Progress. So it was a risk, but it was a lot of work, but a lot of payoff as well.
I mean, you said there that you go to the States with not much stock in yourself, only having 1 match previously in America for Progress. And we'll talk about that much very, very soon. But I mean, what was the fan response to yourself and Kid Lykos, to Lykos Gym, in the various promotions you worked at, and kind of looking at some of the promotions you worked at? I think, they're fairly well-known indie groups. They must have quite a strong and fairly knowledgeable fan base, I would say. So they must be kind of fairly curious and must have heard about you before you flew over. Obviously, promotions like Progress and Rev Pro, who you've performed for a lot over in the UK, kind of are known in the States. So I'm sure you've appeared on quite a few fans' radars. But what sort of response did yourself and Kid Lykos get when you come through the curtains at some of these venues in front of some of these fans? And I'm guessing it was quite a positive one, or maybe a curious reaction, certainly when you first entered.
Yeah, I think like my main takeaway in a positive light from it was, I think we turned curiosity into like enjoyment. And like, we'd be at merch before a show, for example, and we'd have people coming up to us being like, "Oh, I'm excited to see what you guys are about," because they'd obviously just seen announcements and stuff like that. So that was cool. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we'd also then have people come over who were like, "Holy shit, I can't believe you guys are here. I've been watching British wrestling for X amount of years. I'm so happy that you guys are here." And to me, that's nuts. Like, I remember we were in where the fuck, it was North Carolina, the first show we did at Deadlock, and it was like their biggest ever show, which is cool in itself. But then just having people coming over being like, "I can't believe you guys are here," to me is ridiculous. Like, that, what are we doing? That's daft, isn't it? So yeah, overall it was unreal. And I think people that would have had no fucking clue who we were, on all aspects, we changed that, because like, social media numbers went up, and we got to sell merch, and we took a bunch of photos with people. So like, as far as I guess the proof that we had of this is going well, from like creating new buzz and making like a broader fan base, I guess, was successful. But yeah, there was a lot of curiosity, I think, from a lot of people. But then we kind of just managed to turn that into, "Oh, you guys are cool," which to me is everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just anything I'm going to talk about America, I'm going to end it with, yeah, it was unreal, because it just was like, it honestly, like, I think it surpassed my own expectations as well, of like people that either knew us or cared about us, or even people that maybe didn't like us and then did like us. It's just, yeah, it was very cool.
Well, it's that curiosity factor, isn't it? Especially, yourself with the mask, and kind of people may have seen you in magazines or on, the internet and various websites, thinking, what's this guy all about? And they get to kind of speak to you, buy some merch, watch your matches, and there you go. You've created a new fan base straight away, the other side of the pond. But I mean, you mentioned your first match, North Carolina, for Deadlock Pro Wrestling, and you weren't alone, were you? Because it was a 6-man you were involved in with somebody that UK fans and now US fans are very, very familiar with, and that'd be this guy here, the youngest in charge, Leon Slater. And there are the three of you, I'm guessing, at the Deadlock show before your match, and not only did it kickstart your US tour, but it also kickstarted you were the opener for that big show, their largest audience of all time. And you're kind of teaming with Leon Slater, who already has that audience over in the States, so that probably helped a little bit. But what was that experience like of teaming with Leon and kind of going out there, knowing that he's kind of, already not necessarily breaking the States, but he's already making a name for himself, isn't he?
To me, it meant a lot, because, like, on a personal level, I've known him for 10 years now. Like, we started at the same training school in the same shit little town. So to then go from like being two children, like just giving wrestling a go 10 years ago, to teaming together in North Carolina is ridiculous. So yeah, it was awesome. Like, I got to just hang out with my friend for a day in North Carolina, wrestle together, have a cool moment, and then I think he flew back that day. I think, I like the day after maybe, but yeah, it was probably the most, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, felt like a full circle moment, maybe, of like, oh, we're doing all right here. To say that, we started so young, so many years ago. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, no, really, really cool, really, really cool. And I've got this picture here that I found on your Instagram, and you definitely weren't alone, because not only is there you are with Kid Lykos and Leon Slater in the background there, but Alex Windsor and Danny Luna were there on the trip as well, performing on the same show. So you definitely weren't alone. It must have seemed like a home away from home almost.
It was great. Like, that show was fucking stacked. It was awesome.
It was a stacked show.
Yeah, it was
talent from all over the world. Talent from all over the world.
So yeah, to have like just people that you see kind of on a weekly or monthly basis in North Carolina, it's fun, man. Yeah, it was awesome.
Absolutely. And something else that grabbed my curiosity from your socials, and while you're out there, you also had some training with Natty Neidhart, Natalia, and TJ Wilson. And fill us in on this, because obviously you managed to fit this in to your calendar, to your US tour while you're over there. And not only is TJ Wilson and Natalia considered, two of the best wrestlers in the world and two of the best trainers in the world, but getting that opportunity, it also seems like a pretty cool moment as well.
It was, yeah, just to like be around people like that when you're so far away from home, who have had so much success and are really famous, to just be able to like learn from them and be in a wrestling ring with them, and just to be in that environment, it's very motivating and very helpful as a wrestler to be like, oh, these people are willing to help. Because I think, like, a lot of people, you just maybe assume you get to that level of success and then like, oh, okay, you've made it. But to see Natalia, who has been in the WWE for well over 15 years, I can only assume at this point, training every single week, wrestling everybody in that class, and like just grafting still, to me was like, this is unbelievable, and is the mindset that, in my opinion, every wrestler should have. So yeah, to see someone like Natalia being so willing to help and to teach, but then herself to just get stuck in as much as she does, is unbelievable.
And so I know that we're all very familiar with the American products. We all grew up on the American products, but obviously before going over to the States, you've predominantly trained in the UK and maybe in one or two classes in Europe on your excursions possibly. But over in the States, that was an entirely new experience for you. Did you kind of pick up anything new? What were some of your takeaways from kind of training over there, different to maybe what you've picked up over here in the UK, for example?
So like training at the dungeon specifically, we got to do 2 classes while we were there. Mainly is just the mindset that people like TJ and Natty have towards pro wrestling. It's not necessarily like you've learned something brand new, but it was just such a reminder of what wrestling is and what it can be from 2 people who have had so much success and are so good. It was just like such a motivating experience to be around people like that, and then like just even then people at the class, like you meet brand new people and you get to wrestle people there who are on the WWE main roster or who are in NXT or were, fucking ID guys now and stuff like that. Like you just get to share the ring with so many brand new people, and it's difficult to like specify, I guess, like a specific thing that you learn, but it's just such a motivating experience being there.
Yeah, very, very cool. Very, very cool. We're going to talk about your other US experience from back over Mania Week in a minute, because we'll talk about Philadelphia and your match for progress over there. But looking back on 2024 as a whole, what did 2024 mean to you, and what do you believe 2024 did for your career, and more importantly, did for your growth as an overall performer? Because a lot of people were saying, I'm sure you'll agree, that 2024 was a kind of a massive year in your career and possibly even considered a breakout year. But what did it mean to you, and what did it do for the growth of Kid Lykos 2?
I think it was to try and describe it is like it was one of those years that felt like I'd accomplished things I'd wanted to accomplish, and it was one of those where I think throughout the year I kind of proved to myself that, oh, I'm all right at this, and being put in such big opportunities and wrestling some of the people that I wrestled and some of wrestling for some of the companies that I wrestled for was very again like motivating. And I know I've said that a few times now, but it was just a full year of, to me, really proving myself of I'm not just like kind of on the way up now. Obviously I am still, but like in the grand scheme of what British wrestling is now, I feel like I'm really starting to achieve, which is nice. And I think I proved a lot to myself as well, because like in wrestling you get a lot of doubts that kind of just creep into your mind sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was really one of those where like I do a lot of stuff on like a monthly basis, to be fair, where I was like, oh, this is actually, we could get something out of this. We're picking up steam now, which is nice. So yeah, I would say, to describe it as best as I could, it would be a very motivating year for what's hopefully then to come this year.
It's setting you up for bigger and better things in 2025, although it would have to go some to beat your 2024, and we are going to break it all down for sure. I want to bring up this, and I took a bit of a screen grab from one of your posts on Instagram, and it kind of breaks down some of the key achievements, accomplishments, and moments from your 2024. Now I'm going to have to kind of put my glasses on and squint here, but Super Strong Star 16, British J Cup, World Tag Team Festival, Noah UK Tour, CMLL, Fantastica Mania UK, AEW Collision, The Collective, North Tag Team Champs, TNT Tag Team Champs, GHC Junior Tag Team Championship match, 1 month in the US, Spain, Italy, and Germany. It's been a lovely year. I think it's been a lovely year is kind of being quite mild there. But when you look at that in a nutshell, I mean, that's that's the sort of year that a lot of wrestlers, a lot of performers only dream about, and there's so much more to come. But in a nutshell, that was your kind of breakout year, wasn't it?
I guess so. If we're going off that list, then yeah, for sure. Like wrestling goes and moves so quick, you kind of forget about things yourself, and then like when it comes to kind of the end of the year and you really think about what you've actually done this year, and you're like, oh, we've actually achieved here. Like, this has been quite successful as an overall year, I guess. So, yeah, I put that list out as just as a reminder, because social media is a platform to make yourself look great, because that's why it's there, right? But also just for myself, of like, no, we've done all right.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, a lot of the pictures that I'm going to be bringing up is directly from Kid Lykos' Kid Lykos 2's Instagram. And I've got to say, you do keep a really good record of your journey on there with your pictures. So I highly recommend going to check that out. And we'll have a little bit of a plug for your socials a bit later on. But I'm going to bring up some pictures that kind of illustrates and demonstrates your 2024. And we will break down some of this in a bit more detail, but some from your US tour, Leo Rush. Now, I mean, that was a fantastic opportunity at the beginning of the year, maybe as early as February last year, at a Modern Nomad show. And I think that's possibly the one and only time that you had an opportunity to work with Leo Rush. But the two of you put on an absolute barnstorm, and I think that was streamed live on Modern Nomad's YouTube, and I do remember watching it live. But the two of you put on an absolute spectacle that evening.
Yeah, it was great fun. Leo is just an all-round pro and is so good to wrestle. And he's one of those who, again, he's been so many places. You just get to wrestle someone like that, and you just get to learn from him. Yeah, working with Leo was great, man. Like, so we wrestled there, and again, it was the start of the year. Maybe it was February, March time.
It was early,
and we wrestled again in Rev Pro at the finals of the J Cup, in like a 4-way. So yeah, I got to wrestle him twice this year, and yeah, Leo is just an unbelievable wrestler, and I'd happily wrestle him any day of the month, man. Like, he's unreal. So yeah, that match was, you know what, as well? Yeah, that was the Curtis show, I believe. I think it was the Mad Curtis Memorial show. So that was obviously like, it was a difficult but also nice day, I guess. And to wrestle Leo on a day like that, it was cool. Yeah, it was very cool.
Absolutely. And just a few more pictures from your 2024. I think that was the CMLL collaboration show with Rev Pro. There you are up in North with that damn dirty dog. And of course, you are still the reigning TNT World Tag Team Champions, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, no, we lost them.
No.
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Yeah.
Never mind. We'll skip over that. But some
great
pictures here. Some great pictures here from 2024 for sure. And we'll talk a bit more about it. And especially we'll talk a bit more about this picture a little bit later on. But I want to talk to you about probably your last match of last year, if I'm not mistaken. And it was at Unboxing Progress back in the Electric Ballroom, and your fantastic match against Vikingo, which kicked off Unboxing 7, the curtain call. And that was the 29th. And like I say, I was there. Tremendous day, tremendous show. Was truly one of the highlights of my year, right at the back end of 2024. But kicking off that show was yourself and Vikingo. And that was the first time he's wrestled in Europe, in the UK, and you were chosen to be his opponent. So a fantastic opportunity for you. What did that opportunity mean to you when you were first presented with that match?
First of all, I had no idea that was his first UK match. So that's quite cool.
Yeah. No, first time he's wrestled in Europe or the UK. So yeah.
Oh, was good. That was awesome. Yeah, man. Like, yeah, I think it was just another one of those of like, okay, let's just prove ourselves now. That's all it is to me now. Like, I don't see wrestling like the bigger names now as by no means like a negative way, but I don't see it as like a overly big deal as far as like how long I've been wrestling for now. I just see it as a way of, this is another good step to learn, and this is another good step to show that however good they are, I'm also that good. So yeah, Vikingo was awesome to wrestle. He is unbelievable. Great dude. Yeah, man. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a great opportunity to wrestle someone of such good name value, and someone who is, I've no doubt, will make loads and loads of money in wrestling, because anyone that good is undeniable, right?
Yeah.
But
He's
yeah,
world
man,
class. He's world class, and I mean, you matched him every step of the way. And I mean, obviously, the match ended in a no contest, but previous to that, you had 16 minutes of pure action, speed, innovative offense. The crowd were into every single moment of it. You matched him kind of move for move, but the guy is kind of, he's not just quick. He's sudden. Isn't he? He's absolutely sudden, and there's a lot of kind of unique offense I certainly hadn't seen before, that's very unique to him. But what was it like to be in there with Vikingo? Because I think your two styles meshed very, very well.
To me, it was a really fun test of wrestling guys from. I really enjoyed wrestling anyone from, like other countries, because wrestling is so universal and everyone wrestles so differently. So to wrestle, the Lucha Libre guys, to me is like such a fun experience, and especially Vikingo, who again has wrestled literally the best wrestlers in the world. Like the week of, I was watching him and Kenny Omega. So it's like you get to just watch people that you're about to share a ring with wrestling the actual best in the world. So yeah, man, like being in a ring with Vikingo, it was a really fun experience. And yeah, as you said, it was no contest. I hope that one day we get to do it again, because I feel like what we had and where we were going was just feeling so good in the moment. And then as soon as it happened, it just completely stopped. Which I'd rather it did, because he's mental. And
do you think he would have carried on if he had a choice?
Yeah, genuinely, yeah. But as soon as I could tell, we're like, okay, we're done, bro. Like, don't worry about it, because there are bigger things in the world than wrestling me. So I would much rather Vikingo be able to walk again next week than carrying on for however long else we were going to push each other until we got to a finish. But yeah, I would love to wrestle Vikingo again, because I feel like we've definitely got some unfinished business.
Absolutely. And we got Richie watching us live at home, and Richie asked, Richie would like to see a part 2 between yourself and Vikingo, maybe a Super Strong Style 16 and progress management. If you're watching, I'm sure Vikingo would be a great addition to Super Strong Style 16 2025 version. But I know from your own words, you'd like to run it back, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Undoubtedly.
There we go, Richie. There we go. So as far as Kid Lykos 2 is concerned, he wants to run it back, and let's get him back over for Super Strong Style and see what we can do there for sure. Let's see where we are. But I'm sure that's a match that you're very, very proud of. I mean, you've been in the business 9 or so years. You've been training since you were a lad. But a lot of people are saying that 2024 was a bit of a star-making year for you, or a bit of a breakout year for you. But a lot of people are saying that your match against Vikingo was maybe a breakout match or a star-making match for yourself. What would you say to some of them commentators or fans that are saying that match there was the one that put you on the map?
I'd say it's more than fair. Yeah, man, absolutely. Like, I'm someone who sometimes I'll doubt myself heavily, but then I'll also wrestle people like Vikingo, hold my own, and be like, oh, okay, yeah, we're on a certain level now. So, yeah, wrestling guys like Vikingo and wrestling so many of the guys that I did last year, and I was honoured to share the ring with, like, some of the best last year. But yeah, specifically on Vikingo, I'd say that's a very fair assessment of what it was and what it could have been, I guess, if the worst didn't happen. But yeah, I'd say that the year in general, and that match specifically, is a very fair assessment to say it was a very helpful step on the breakout year or match,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bring up some pictures from that match with Vikingo, and I was up in the balcony, took some tremendous footage. But the action was awesome. The fans enjoyed the hell out of it, and for it to kick off unboxing 2024 version was very, very special, and the two of you having an embrace at the end there. But let's talk about, we spoke about your US tour at the top of the podcast, and I want to talk about April now, because of course you were over there representing Progress performing in a Progress ring or in a GCW collective ring during WrestleMania week for Progress. Freedom Walks Again, and you were part of a 7-man scramble featuring some fantastic young talent from the US, UK. Tate Mayfair's was in there as well, and of course yourself. And you ended up going over. You won the match in impressive style, and that would have been your US debut. So what a fantastic kind of culmination of opportunities that week, getting your US debut, performing in that fantastic 7-man scramble, going over, winning the match, and kind of making your mark on a US audience for the very first time.
Yeah, so we were there for, I'm going to say 4 or 5 days in Philly in total. The entire experience was so much fun. Yeah, it was my first ever time in America. I'd never been on holiday. I'd never been ever. So it was my first time in America. First time wrestling in America. And it was one of those to kind of circle back to what we were talking about earlier, where how was the fan perception for you on our month in the States? The perception there in April blew me away, because I just couldn't believe that it was my first time in America. People have come to Progress to watch me, and I got a reaction. To me, that meant the world, man. It even surprised myself on the entrance of my music hit. I came out and people cared. And it was a very cool moment for me to get that debut, and it felt right to be okay, we've achieved something again. And I've said that a lot, but last year was just a year of feeling like I was achieving things. So yeah, collective was fun, man. So much fun.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing you were out there for, you said 4 or 5 days. Did you get a chance to enjoy the other festivities, go and see some more wrestling? I'm guessing that with you being out there and a lot of the independent talent, maybe signed talent that you are familiar with, having worked with over the years, it was a good opportunity to catch up with some friends that you may not have seen in a while.
It was exactly that. I got to see Brooks, who I now see once a year, I guess. I think I saw him, the year before when he was over in the UK for 5 days. So yeah, I got to see Chris. Kip Sabian was around, and it's lovely to see him. Kip trained me for 2 years, and Kip's a really big part of me kind of breaking out back in 2018, 2019, because we lived so close to each other.
Yeah.
So he just let me travel with him to a bunch of shows. So yeah, to get to see Kip again was really cool. That was a really nice moment. Who else was around, man? I'm trying to think. Yeah, just overall, it was just awesome, man.
Everyone was there. It's WrestleMania week, of course. Everybody was there. You shake a stick and you see another performer, another wrestler. But yeah, I mean, I've only been to WrestleMania once, 2018, over in New Orleans, and not only was it a fantastic party atmosphere, it was just crazy. And I'm going over to Vegas in April with Wrestle Tours, so that'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait. My second WrestleMania experience. But just a few pictures from the Penn's Landing Caterers, I understand, where the GCW was collective was taking place. Some stills there of some of the action highlights, and of course Brainbuster, and there we go. That's your signature move that for a long time you wasn't able to hit, but now all of a sudden you can. But I've got to move subjects, and I want to talk to you about this here, and something I know was a massive highlight of yours in 2024, and being part of your very first Super Strong Star 16 tournament. And you've been a part of Super Strong Stars from previous years, but usually alongside Kid Lykos, or watching from the wings, or supporting your fellow colleagues. But to be part of Super Strong Star 16 last year, I know that was another fantastic milestone for you, something I'm sure you kind of had your eye on for a long time. But to be part of it, like I said, we talk about kind of what happened during the events, but to be part of it, to be announced as one of those 16, must have been another cool moment for you, and a bit of a feather in the cap and a tick in the box, so to speak.
It meant a lot. Yeah, as you said, that was my third Strong Style, and it was the first time I was ever in it. So it was always a case of just watching on the wings, waiting for your shot and working hard for your shot. And then this year I got it. So yeah, it meant a lot to kind of finally be in the tournament, and to finally I guess like stand on my own 2 feet in progress. A lot of things I've done in progress were with Lykos, and I'm never going to complain about that because he's my best friend, he's my tag partner, and we do. I have more fun, tagging with Lykos than anything else. But to kind of finally get that chance to, like stand in there on my own in super strong style, yeah, very cool moment.
Yeah, here are a few pictures from that weekend. There you are, and like I say, you got through to the quarterfinals to face Luke Jacobs, a foe that you know very, very well, of course.
Yes.
But here are a few more pictures, and of course, your first round opponent was Gene Money, but a hell of a weekend. And like I say, there you are with the then Progress World Men's Champion by your side, cheering you on at Super Strong Style, whereas the previous year it was the other way around. But looking at kind of Philly and what you did over there as part of the GCW collective in a Progress ring, and then Super Strong Style. We'll talk about more of your highlights, but those two things alone must be very validating for yourself to know that they're trusting you, not only with a featured match over in Philly and then being part of the 16 men in last year's tournament. Very validating for you to know that they're kind of giving you the ball and trusting you in your own right, one of the top performers in Progress.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, it meant a lot to I've been in Progress for a long time now, and
yeah,
it felt very good to to kind of be given the ball and to see how far I could run with it. Admittedly, as far as I could run was the quarterfinals, but that's all right. We move. But yeah,
you
very
were
cool
up against a brick wall, wouldn't you? In the shape of Luke Jacobs, who 2024 was his year, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if Luke Jacobs eliminated me is really not something to be embarrassed about, in my opinion.
No, but you got to day two, and like I say, all fingers and toes crossed that you have another opportunity this coming year. And it's right around the corner. I think tickets are already on sale for Super Strong Style. 2 days at the Electric Ballroom at the beginning of May, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But let's talk about this here. And another awesome opportunity, another great milestone, a moment for you. But getting the opportunity to perform, to wrestle inside an AEW ring at the AEW Collision tapings in Wales, in Cardiff, ahead of AEW All In this past summer. Now, I wasn't at those tapings, I was at All In, but I think that the British indie wrestling fan community were very, very pleased for both yourself and for Nina and the other British talent that were kind of featured and played a part in that whole week inside of an AEW ring. But getting that opportunity, getting that moment, getting that match as part of the AEW Collision tapings was another highlight and a pretty cool moment for you, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like to just have the fact of being able to say I stood in an AEW ring in front of 4,000 people in a sold out arena on TV. That's cool. I never look too deep into it because it was extra work. It was right place, right time, right spot, right moment type of thing. But to have that moment was a very cool experience.
And I suppose it gives you a bit of a taste, a bit of a flavour for what those bigger promotions are like in terms of, the production, maybe the added pressure that's put on a performer such as yourself that may not have been on that sort of stage before, but it probably gives you a taste of maybe, what could be around the corner, what you might want your future to look like. Did those sort of thoughts go through your head?
Undoubtedly, and there's no way of it not going around your head because you're backstage with people like Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland and X, Y, and Z, and all these other really famous people that work at AEW, and you're just walking past them really casually because you're all in the same locker room and you're all backstage, and it's again, I've said it a bunch now, but it was another really motivating experience of you're in this environment, sink or swim.
Yeah. Yeah. And more importantly, did you enjoy the experience? I mean, a bit of a silly question, but sometimes when talent are in that environment with the added pressure, they don't have a chance to kind of take in the moment or take in the experience. Were you able to take it in and appreciate what was going on around you and to enjoy the experience maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really nice day out, in my opinion. Yeah, like a lot of the people that were kind of there as extras that day were people I see every week. So I got to hang out with my friends all day in Cardiff. And then again, like see people that I've not seen in ages. So like Nick Wayne, Kip, um, a couple others as well that you don't get to see a lot anymore because they're out in America on TV every week, and that's awesome. So yeah, it was a nice reunion with a lot of people, and then it was just an overall very fun and enjoyable experience. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we spoke about your US tour that happened in October and November of last year, alongside Kid Lykos, of course. But despite 2024 being a breakout year for yourself, what we also saw was another fantastic year for the combination of Lykos Jim, yourself, and Kid Lykos, of course. And the pairing just seems to go from strength to strength. I'm going to reel off a list of things from 2024 here. Being part of the WXW World Tag Festival in October, matches against teams such as GYV, Sanity, the Greedy Souls, and recent guests of mine, Act 2, say on a couple of occasions up and down the UK, winning the TNT World Tag Team Championships and subsequently losing it. Sorry about that. And winning that back in February against La Rebellion. Your recent tour of the States with Kid Lykos, which we've spoken about, and being part of the Noah tour in September alongside Kid Lykos as well. So most like, yourself having a fantastic 2024. As I mentioned, I think Lykos Jim also had a tremendous year in 2024, did things and experienced things that they may not have done before, despite the fact that the two of you have been together for quite a long time. 2024 was a great year for the two of you combined.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people can say it was like a really good breakout year for me. It was the exact same for Lykos. Like,
Yeah.
Winning the Progress Belt was so well deserved. Like, he's been one of the most consistent pro wrestlers in British wrestling since like 2018. And to just see like so many years of being that good at wrestling pay off for him in a singles capacity was so cool to watch.
Yeah.
And just so well deserved. And then just things that then like trickled off that of like us winning the belt and getting a load of hype does great for both of us. Obviously does wonders for him, but then we present Lykos Jim. That is our act. So having part of that team being a world champion in such a big company, it did wonders for us. I think it opened up a lot of doors for us, and I'm very proud of us for how consistent we stayed all year and how busy we were, and the teams that we faced and the matches that we had. It was a very enjoyable and worthwhile year for the two of us. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring up some pictures here, and that clearly demonstrates your close bond, friendship, and tag team bond with the two. And that's a pretty cool picture. Like say, matching tights, a great background. It really pops. It really pops, and a nice tan for the two of you as well. But some great pictures here, and of course. There we go. Your kind of Noah tour, which we will talk about very, very soon. North again, TNT bouts. And there he is, Kid Lykos, as the Progress Men's World Champion. And I think I had the opportunity to speak to Kid Lykos maybe a week after he won that prestigious title. But I mean, you just mentioned Kid Lykos there very, very passionately. And of course, you've had a pairing with him for a while. You've seen him kind of come out of retirement, pairing with him all the way through the Peckham era, through the live crowds when they came back in 2021, 2022 and onwards, winning the Progress World Tag Team Championships with Kid Lykos, watching his run, watching his feud with Spike, winning Super Strong Style 2023 and then going on to win the world title in that epic cage match. And then everything that's happened since. You've been by his side for many, many years as a great tag team partner and a great friend. But how kind of motivational and how inspirational has he been to you? And obviously, when you first kind of started working together, you were very young. You're still, a young wrestler now, but you've kind of grown up alongside Kid Lykos, and that can only be a good thing when you've been alongside and the journey that he's had.
Nah, he's a piece of shit. No, yeah, it's unreal, man. Like he Yeah, it's a funny one. Like our, I guess, stories are so weirdly paralleled, and it was never planned that way. Um, like it is really weird to think about how similar our paths have kind of been in wrestling, and then this all just kind of happened. You know, we both started really young. We both started at very small town wrestling schools, and we both broke out of those schools and started to do bigger things at a really young age. And then somehow we kind of just like find ourselves, and now we're a team. Like it's really weird. It's really, really weird. Um, but yeah, being around him is great, man. Like he's we very much went from like colleagues to best friends. And I guess it was always going to happen with how much we're around each other now. But like in 2019, when we were setting all of this up, and then 2020, when we did the promos about him coming back and building Lykos Gym, we were never like that close. You know, we talk a lot, but we weren't like super close because it was just, you know, it was lockdown and X, Y, and Z. And then I guess, from fans coming back and just being around each other that much, it was either going to be a case of we actually hate each other and all of this will be a disaster, or we'll become very good friends, we'll get very close, and this will all be great. And thankfully, that bit happened. Um, so yeah, being around him from, I guess what it's been 5 years now, actually. Well, coming up to 5 years since Lykos 2, and I guess 6 or 7 years of like knowing him. He's been nothing but a positive on my life. Yeah, nothing but positive.
Just a curious question from me. Did you only start officially teaming with him at the Peckham tapings?
Yep.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Our first ever tag match was in front of nobody at Progress against Gene Money and Big Guns Joe.
Quite a unique set of circumstances. Obviously, you know, the world was going to shit, but you know, teaming together for the first time. Although you've known each other for a handful of years before that, but you know, but having your first tag match with him in a very, very unique situation. I've spoken to many of the talent that were part of those tapings, and they said that, you know, it was a very, very memorable time for a lot of positive reasons. You know, just being able to hang out with your friends and record the action. And I've said to many, many people, I've had Karen Noir, G Money, and various others on here, you know, the action was always, always solid during those tapings and presented, you know, a fantastic hour's worth of TV every day on the WWE network, which also blows my mind. But you know, it was a strange, very unique, but fun environment, wasn't it?
Very. Like, I credit the Progress Peckham tapings to the really healthy backstage environment that we have now. Like,
really?
It was because no one knew what the fuck shows were going to look like when we came back.
Yeah.
Coming out of COVID and coming out of Speaking Out and coming out of just so long away from wrestling and being away from wrestlers for so long, nobody had a clue what things were going to be like. And I think it was like a couple of days in, like the tapings would be, I could be wrong, but I think tapings were like over 4 days that we do. So three days maybe. So yeah, I really credit those times to kind of the positive backstage environment that we have now. Because I think without that, you know, let's say we just came back to shows when, when fans were allowed back, then I think it'd been a much more gradual and slow process. But we really went from not seeing anyone for ages to, okay, you've got 4 days together. Let's see what everyone's going to be like. Let's see what the vibe is. Let's see how we're going to work together again, you know? And I guess, yeah, just the stars aligned. Everyone had a great time. Everyone had missed wrestling so much. So it was just such a breath of fresh air to just be able to have a wrestling match again. You know, It was such a, especially in those times as well, like people just not having any output of pro wrestling at all. You couldn't go and train. You couldn't go and do anything. So it was such a sense of just being thankful for pro wrestling again, because it was months without it, and it's very difficult for a lot of people. But yeah, those tapings were so much fun, and they're very much something that I'll definitely just never forget.
When you look at the core of the Progress roster now, it's very much, the fundamentally the talent that are performing at them no fans tapings, and like you say, obviously established and built something very early on then that's followed through in 2025 now. So I think what you said is absolutely spot on. But like I say, a credit to those individuals who are part of those tapings, and the action was absolutely fantastic. But you and Kid Lykos have actually wrestled one another. I think on a couple of occasions in 2024, I think an Attack Pro Wrestling show, and of course the more famous match between the two of you at Rev Pro's British J Cup tournament. So, I mean, how many times have you wrestled one another? Because I could only really find them two occasions, and certainly the British J Cup match was, like I say, a match that got a lot of people's attention.
We've had, I'm going to say, 5 singles matches now. So the first time we ever wrestled was, I think it was 2022. It was for Catch in Manchester. And that match only happened because we were in the middle of a tag match, and one of the worst people I've ever met in my entire life, Ethan Allen, got injured. And we were in the main event. And it was a real awkward situation. We're in the main event. You can't send people home really upset. So, in the midst of Ethan being hurt and us calling the match off, I think it was his call. We were like, "Fuck it, we're having a main event." So we got Ethan backstage. We got his tag partner Scott Open. He went backstage as well to check on him, and me and Lykos wrestled in the main event, completely. Just on a whim, and we just went for it, and we had like a 15-minute main event. That was the first time. Then we wrestled again in the same building on a Nomad show, and it was the run that Brooks was back. We had a singles, and that was really fun. It's on YouTube, I think, on the Nomad channel. It was I don't know what the show was called. Something with a fly in it, because Chris Brooks was on the show. Yeah, we wrestled then, so that was the second one. Then we wrestled at Attack at Mistletoe. Then we had a match before the Attack one, we wrestled where I was dressed as Rey Mysterio and he was dressed as Eddie Guerrero on a Modern Nomad WWF show. Then we wrestled at Mistletoe at Attack, and then we wrestled at the J Cup in Rev Pro. So yeah, 5.
And what is it like to kind of wrestle against him? Because I'm guessing that the two of you know each other's strengths and know each other's weaknesses. But I'm guessing there's no real malice, certainly after the match. But I'm guessing that the two of you see it as a bit of a challenge for you to, I don't know, come out the top Lykos, I suppose. But what was the kind of the vibes and the atmosphere between the two of you when you were in there? I'm guessing all guns blazing to prove who is the better man on the day.
Yeah, no doubt. Like it's a very friendly competition where sometimes it gets a little bit over competitive. One of us will get a bit too excited. It's usually me. And then it's honestly the most fun, and yeah, I love it. Again, he's one of those people, man. He's just so easy to wrestle. Like, not even the fact that he's my tag partner, just as a professional wrestler and for who he is, he's so easy to wrestle, man. Like, so easy. So yeah, it's always a fun time. It's always like a special occasion as well, and I'm glad that the last 2 have been Attack and at Rev Pro, because we really made it feel like it was important, which is always the point, I guess, right? Yeah, it's the best. It's great. I'll wrestle them any day.
We're going to jump to some listener questions fairly soon, but before we do, I'm just going to bring up a picture. We spoke briefly about this gentleman earlier on, but of course the current Progress Men's World Champion Luke Jacobs now, his rise has been absolutely phenomenal from when he first came onto my scene. 2021, the Peckham tapings once again, and he's been part of that core, and he's been part of that Progress roster ever since, and everything that he's achieved in a Progress ring, and now he's been an absolute dominant champion. He's kind of really turned it up to 11. He's been in beast mode for all of 2024, winning strong style himself, then going on to beat Kid Lykos for the World Championship. But I know he's a competitor that you've been in the ring with many times and know very, very well. But I mean, are you almost surprised at the level at which Luke Jacobs has really kind of turned it up in 2024, and to the point where there doesn't appear to be anybody that can take him down just yet?
So I think the surprise came with just how quickly he hit the ground running, like once Ethan got injured. Obviously with the young guns, and they are like, I shit on Ethan Allen all the time, but he is one of the best wrestlers I've ever met in my entire life. But that's the only good thing I'm going to say about it. And I can only imagine in like the worst case scenario, when your tag partner gets injured, it's a case of what's next. And then Luke just took initiative and just became this fucking killer. And like, that was the surprise. Just how quickly he was able to go, right, it's time to go. And then the surprise was over, because you watch the matches that he has, and it's like, of course he's in the position that he's in. Like, it's not a shock, you know? So yeah, the only surprise I had was how quickly and how well he took to being on his own. But then you see the type of wrestler he turned into. You see the matches that he has against some of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
And how he holds his own every single time. To me, where Luke is right now, fucking none of it's a surprise. He's unreal.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, it's frightening, the run that he's been on in 2024. And it really does make you wonder who he's going to have the balls and the strength to go up against him and actually take that championship off of him. But let's move on to some listener questions. And we had Richie. Now, Richie is very keen on your kind of your switch from heel to babyface, and how quickly the fans kind of took to yourself and Lykos when that switch finally happened. Because when the crowds first came back in 2022 and you were associating yourself with Jonathan Gresham, who was the then world champion, you were one of the most hated factions, groups, duos between yourself and Lykos on the Progress roster for sure. But like I say, give that another year and a half, and things really, really changed, where Lykos, really became the crowd favorite, the uncrowned champion until he was, and the same for yourself. Were you surprised at how much the fans have taken to you in the last couple of years, considering how dastardly you were prior to that?
Yeah, that's fair. I thought it was going to be more of like an uphill battle than what it was to kind of turn them. And I was very happy and thankful that they cared about enough as an act to go with what we were presenting, like during the turn, I guess. I think we turned into one of those teams at first where people genuinely didn't like us. And that's awesome. That's perfect. But then I think it turned into one of those things of people enjoy not liking us. And then that makes the switch a little bit easier. And it also makes it more natural of like, I don't think we forced anything. I don't think we rushed into anything. And I think all of the crowd reception and reactions that we've had over like the last 2 years, I guess, and not even just in Progress, just in everywhere. Like we were probably like the main like bad guy team, I guess, in the country. In anywhere that we wrestled, there was nowhere that we were on shows and we were like presenting different acts anywhere. Like we were consistently just dickheads everywhere. And I guess it was just a weird agreement upon the British wrestling community of, oh, they're cool, I guess. We like them now. So yeah, the reactions that we've been getting now have been like just so cool, and we have such like a core fan base that like I see fans every week at this point now. I'll have a run of shows of like 6 weeks in a row, and I will see the same people on at least 4 out of the 6 shows I'm on, and that's up and down the country. And like to me, that's unbelievable that the commitment that so many fans have now. It's unbelievable, and we have so many great conversations at merch. So yeah, I'd say the turns in progress specifically, but then also it kind of generalizes to pretty much every other company that we wrestled at. Felt like a very natural next step, I suppose, for both of us. And it's been a very enjoyable time.
Absolutely. Now we focus quite heavily on Progress Wrestling for the lion's share of this interview so far. But of course, you are nationwide. You're all across the UK, north, south, east, and west. But what are some of your other personal highlights from, say, 2023, and maybe more specifically 2024? So, some moments that you're particularly proud of elsewhere across the country that we might not be too familiar with.
I would say some of the strongest work that I'd say I've personally ever put out, like me specifically, has been at North. I've had some of my favourite matches there. To list some off the top of my head, we wrestled Medusa Complex last year. That was great at North. Me and Gene wrestled GYV at North. That was great. I wrestled Leon Slater in a 30-minute 2 out of 3 falls main event for the North title. That was great. There's other things that I've forgotten about at this point, but like North for me personally has been a company that has really put a lot into me, and I've really appreciated every show I've done for them. It's always the best time. You get very well looked after, and it's been a place that I feel like has really trusted me to do some cool stuff, and I'd like to think that I've kind of delivered on that trust. So yeah, North for sure have been a real good one for me. Attack as well. I love Attack Pro Wrestling. We've not been there as much like last year, just because of like date issues and other commitments and whatnot. But there's been a lot of stuff in Attack that I've really enjoyed. Like we wrestled the Greedy Souls in genuinely one of my favorite ever tags that we've ever had. That was at the Mania weekend 2023. Me and Lykos wrestled Greedy Souls, and it was so much fun. Absolutely loved it. We had the singles there at Mistletoe 23 as well, me and Lykos. And just any show that Attack run is just so much fun, and it's one of, if not the best, like environment to be in. The fans are awesome. Everyone backstage has the best time. Yeah, I'd say they're my main two off the top of my head, but there's like so many things of like, little things that I enjoy about every show I do. But yeah, North and Attack specifically are two that I really enjoy.
I know that Attack was my very first indie show back in December 2014, so more than 10
That's
years
awesome.
ago. And who was on that show but a certain Kid Lykos?
So
nice. I remember that quite specifically from the Trinity Centre in Bristol. I do remember it very, very fondly. But let's jump to some listener questions. And Richie sent more of a kind of a statement or a comment before we went live, and it's a two-parter here. But Richie said he loved the storyline with you and Bullet. It seemed like you and Kid Lykos were similar storylines with him and Spike and you and Bullet in singles, and both finally achieve your goal with you beating Bullet and Kid Lykos winning the Progress Men's World Championship. So you spoke about your journey in comparison to Kid Lykos being very, in parallel to one another. But Richie has very fond memories of your feud and your matches against Bullet. And of course, that might be another highlight of yours from last year, because I think in February 2024, you beat the big man, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, no, he's right, man. Like, what I'm very proud of for that story, like that entire storyline was Lykos and Spike. They're the main characters. But I think with Spike's faction and me being around as well, it was a case of either we're just not going to exist while those guys do their thing, and that's fine, or we can really get the most out of everybody that's involved, and we can tell a bigger story with more characters, and I think me and Bullet were the perfect match, really. Like, David and Goliath wouldn't be a story if Goliath just won again,
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most enjoyable types of matches to watch as a pro wrestling fan is, will the little guy beat the big guy? And yeah, like that's something I'm very proud of. And again, that crowd reaction was like one of the best moments of my entire career, like undoubtedly. To have 600 people give a shit that much about me beating someone meant the world, man. It was unbelievable. I was like, oh, it'll be a nice reaction, I guess, when, if I can pick him up and I can beat him, that'll be cool. And then what actually happened in real time was like unbelievable. I remember winning and then like slumping on the ropes like this. And I'm kind of like, I've got my eyes closed. I'm looking at the sky, sorry. And then just like, I look back down and there's just people just around the ring. And I was like, this is a very special moment for me. Like immediately I was like, okay, this is very cool. So yeah, no, the bullet match and the overall story that we told for like, God, I don't even know how long it was, man. Like 6 months maybe of the entire, I guess, Lykos Gym, Spike Treve, Smoking Aces, Bullet storyline. 6-7 months, and we kept people caring for that entire time, which is again something I'm really proud of. Yeah, I look back on that with fond memories.
I think part of that story, probably skipping back a little bit, but I don't know if you remember the street fight you had at the ballroom along Halloween. I can't remember what chapter it was, but obviously October 2023. And I remember it very fondly because I was working at the Progress merch table that day. And I don't know if you remember, but it was either yourself or Kid Lykos got body slammed thanks to the Aces through the very same merch table.
Yeah, no, that was me.
Progress management weren't too happy. I didn't know what to do. I'm just saying, look, now we're doing me. I just picked up what I could and carried on. But that was a fun match. And I know your matches with the Aces, and that one in particular, were really, really great. And I'm not saying the Smoking Aces are underrated by any stretch of the imagination. They are world class. But getting your team and the Smoking Aces together always produces that little bit of magic.
Yeah, like the Smoking Aces are incredible pro wrestlers. Nick Riley is so consistent and so just good to share a ring with, and it should be illegal for wrestlers to not watch a Charlie Sterling match when he's on a show. Like the way that Charlie Sterling wrestles is, I can't even put into words. He's unbelievable, and he's someone that you can watch and learn from, undoubtedly. So yeah, wrestling Charlie and wrestling Nick, as much of an annoyance they are, and as much of just they are dickheads, they just are. But from a professional side of things, from wrestler to wrestler, I guess the Smoking Aces are unbelievable. And yeah, that street fight specifically was like genuinely one of the most painful matches of my entire life. Like I felt like shit for at least 2 weeks. I remember the powerbomb through the table sucked. I remember being thrown into like the chairs, then also the wall at the ballroom. Just like being thrown like 4 rows back as well by Charlie into the like that was rough, man. That was a rough day at work, but that was another one where the crowd reaction was unbelievable, and it made everything worth it.
100%. We got Sam. I think Sam's watching us live, but he sent in a question before we went live. Sam Bruton, you may have already answered this in a roundabout way, but what have been your favourite tag team match and your favourite singles match of 2024? So do you have any really standout one tag team match and maybe one singles match that you can really put your cap on and say, yeah, I'm proud of those two?
That's difficult, man. Shit, that's always a harder question than you'd assume.
Good question, Sam.
Yeah, god damn it, Sam. I'll tell you what. The day one of the Noah tour against Alpha Wolf and Dragon Bane would be there as one of, if not my favorite tag match of the year. In Edinburgh. Yeah, Golpeados. Unreal team. Unbelievable wrestlers. Singles. That's difficult, man. Me and Luke on day 2 Strong Style is probably up there.
Yeah.
Me and Lykos at Rev Pro is probably up there. So I'm going to give you a list because I can't give you one.
Yeah.
That's 2 different. Yeah, me and Lykos at Rev Pro was good fun. I'm going to go with that.
That's
Me
good
and
enough.
Lykos, British Jacob at RevPro. Yeah, why not?
That's good enough. And like I say, having one of your favourite, if not the favourite match of 2024 against your tag team partner, I don't think many people can beat that. Richie again. Now, we've spoken about what a fantastic 2024 you had and how difficult it's going to be to top that. But he's asking, do you have any specific goals or any dream matches for 2025? Now, obviously, a lot of talent, they don't want to talk about goals because, they can't necessarily manifest the future. It's not always in their hands. But do you have any kind of aspirations for 2025 and any dream opponents, maybe?
So the first one, you actually said it yourself. I don't like going around saying things because I just kind of like to keep it close to the chest, as far as like what I actually want to achieve. But the main goal every year for me personally is to be the most consistent wrestler that I can be, and that's not just in the amount of bookings I get per year, but that's the amount of that's the quality of matches that I'm able to put on. That's looking after myself as well as I can. That is, getting in the best shape I can, and just all the factors that go into pro wrestling. I enjoy to be as consistent as I can. So as far as a goal for, I guess, as a person, to just be as consistent as I can in everywhere, and dream matches, I would
Now, let's be
say.
honest. I mean, you had some dream matches that you ticked off your bucket list in 2024.
Sure.
You're gonna have to go some to top some of those.
So to be fair, it's not even a case of wrestling new people now. It's kind of finishing what we've not started.
True.
And the two main ones that stand out there is wrestling Golpeadors. We wrestled them to a 15-minute time limit. There was no winner. And Vikingo, there's no winner. So I'd say as far as what's kind of been left on the table and what can very easily be revisited, I'd say that's definitely two for sure that I'd like to run back next year or this year.
There we go. That's it. We're already in 2025.
We are.
Time is motoring on already, and we are motoring
forgot.
towards the end of this interview as well. But thank you so much for your questions there, Richie and Sam and everybody else that's reached out. Really, really appreciate it. We still got Tom. We are still live, so we've got a few minutes. If you've got any last minute questions, ping them through to us now. But scrolling along the bottom of the screen is where you can get in touch with Kid Lykos 2 on his socials. But I'm going to kind of hand it over to you, my friend, on the right hand side of the screen there. So tell our audience, for anybody that might be interested to learn more and find out more about Kid Lykos 2, where can they do so?
The app is Kid Lykos 2, as in II, not a number 2, on Instagram and Twitter. That's where I'm active. You can follow me on other things, but I've deleted the app on the Blue Sky thing, and I've deleted the app on Threads as well. So if you want to follow me, sure thing, but I don't have them. But yeah, man, Twitter and Instagram for just generalized updates on where in the world we are and any merch drops. We've just had a new design come in yesterday. So we're going to have, for the first shows of the year, we're going to have T-shirts that are exclusive to shows that won't be online. Then we're going to have hoodies come out at some point that will only be online and not available at shows. So we'll post those in the coming weeks when, or maybe next week when we kind of get things going with wrestling shows again. But yeah, that's it from me, man. Kid Lykos 2.
There we go. There we go. Well, it's been awesome having you on the first episode of Wrestling with Johners of 2025 as we enter our 7th year. So there we go. And many more fantastic guests lined up to join Kid Lykos as one of my previous guests on Wrestling with Johners. But for episode 373, Kid Lykos 2, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and being a wonderful guest. If you've got any parting words for our audience at home, any parting words for Kid Lykos 2, and what a fantastic 2025 to look forward to. In your very own words, do you have any final words for the fans at home?
Honestly, it's just a big thank you. Like, the year that I had last year would not have been possible without people caring about me. And that's what everything's about. Like, the investment from so many fans that we've been able to build over the last couple of years has meant the world. From going to America and Germany and having people care about us there to having people care about us when we're in Manchester and London and Cardiff. And everywhere else. Like it really feels like we're building a very supportive fan base, and that means the world. So if you've watched me chat shit for an hour, thank you. If you've been to a show and you bought a t-shirt, thank you. If you've just come and said hello to us at merch, all of it means the world. I'm excited for this year. I'm a bit scared too, I'll be honest. A bit scared, but mainly excited. And I think that we're going to do some good stuff this year.
We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it. But Kid Lykos 2, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. And yeah, can't wait to see you perform in 2025, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, man.